All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. We have you guys covered here with, a 5-game slate on DraftKings, and then FanDuel's a little bit different, but I kind of like this slate. We were just talking kind of an interesting slate, lots of players being out. You kind of mentioned you like the FanDuel slate a little bit more.
Yeah, I like the extra games over on FanDuel. I think a lot of it is Kawhi Leonard. I think he's a little bit underprojected. I know he's been super going off, and they have a tough game against Boston, but that game and having Utah and Golden State over on FanDuel, I just think it makes the slate a little bit better. But the DraftKings slate is still pretty good too. There's some spots that we can go over.
Yeah, and I again with these days where there's like an NFL game going on right now, I kind of like them a little bit better. It seems like people aren't as in tuned, although it does seem like most of the injury news that we were waiting for, we pretty much got, except for maybe the FanDuel slate with those other games. So I don't know. I kind of like this slate. I like these 5-game slates where we have most of the news already. We can go ahead and start with kind of the first game here. Not the Miami game. I know someone kind of mentioned Jovic kind of going off, or
I think they're playing right now. Norman Powell got hurt or something.
He better not. I hope not. I had a decent amount of him betting wise.
Yeah, I think it said he was Q to return.
That's okay. That can be marked as a DNP on prospects. That's fine.
First half.
Yeah, exactly. We'll jump into Philly versus New York here. So the only news that we're waiting on, and I think we kind of it's Towns. Towns is currently questionable here. Josh Hart is out. And then for Philly, Embiid is currently probable. So we'll start with Philly here. Kelly Oubre still out. Not too much ownership going around for Philly. Maxey about 5, Edgecombe about 8 or 6, sorry. And then Paul George, a little bit higher owned on FanDuel. But really, Embiid kind of seems to be the only play here just because we can chase the ceiling. The data somewhat backs it up, although Edgecombe on for a DK value is a decent play.
Yeah, Edgecombe's been standing out in the model a lot recently, even with everybody healthy. And his price is going up, his ownership is going down. I'm over the field on him today. He's done it a couple times, and so he's going to fail a bunch of the time, but we do have him projected for 37 minutes, so I like the ceiling there. That's the main GPP spot I'm getting to here, and then just sprinkles of Embiid. And I want to be in on Maxey, but I don't know. It's kind of tough to get there today. He's only projected for 8 and 3% ownership, though. It doesn't take much to get over on him.
Yeah, we got an interesting comment from Doug here saying, love Maxey in the Garden. I don't know. Is that a thing? I haven't really noticed that with him. Is that a thing?
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. I know I mentioned something like, it's like just coincidence, but Donovan Mitchell has a thing about the Garden, and he definitely did it the last time we were talking about it.
Well, Giannis had a pretty good streak in there too whenever he went to New York.
Yeah, I've seen Giannis play in New York twice too. It's so fun.
Wow.
Tyrese Maxey at New York has scored 30 points in 3 straight games, and so he's not smashing for fantasy, but he's playing 40 minutes. These were all within the past year. Teams are a little bit different. We can't exactly go off of this, but there's nothing about the Garden that makes me think Maxey doesn't love it, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's an interesting call out there. I'm fine getting to him, but
yeah, I think he's still a good GPP play, but the data, his projection is kind of poor considering how good he's been playing recently. But the model, this 13.9 DK value at his price seems pretty good to me. And like Joel Embiid, I guess, has the same DK value and actually higher FD value. And I'm getting some shares of him, but that one seems a little tougher because there's a few other center plays we're interested in.
Well, for me, I actually like a decent amount of the guard plays. I kind of mentioned to you earlier. I like Chicago. I like some of their plays. So I can see why people aren't getting into him, Maxey specifically, just maybe for that reason. And same thing with Edgecombe, where guard eligible. I could see why those maybe aren't as high on for that specific reason. Not necessarily bad plays, just other plays that are a little bit more intriguing.
Yeah, at point guard, I think the point guard position is kind of valuable on DraftKings. Maybe not. Point guard's okay, but it just maybe the salary is a little bit hard to fill. I don't think we have that great of a. I don't have any like super good value plays. Kelly Olynyk, Miles McBride, Caleb Love. These aren't great value plays, right?
Yeah, nothing that's like extremely cheap for sure. We'll jump on into New York here, though, on the other side of this game. Again, kind of same thing. No one is really chalky here. What is the game total of this game? I didn't even check. 234. So, yeah, it's a close game at least, but not too high scoring. I kind of get it. I don't necessarily love anyone here. If Towns were to sit, maybe Mitchell Robinson and maybe OG become a little bit more appealing, but kind of where are you at here with New York?
With New York, well, I mentioned Miles McBride is an interesting
Mhm.
value piece. He's only projected for 8 and 5% ownership. Model is projecting him actually. Is he? I mean, he's top 10 on a DK value, top 10 on
Mhm.
FanDuel value. So I think he's a piece that we can use, especially since the field isn't really getting there. And then Brunson let us down really hard yesterday. We were expecting a big game. He didn't do it. I'm just getting us, little sprinkles again of everybody else here. McHale, OG, Brunson, Cat, and Mitchell Robinson. Actually, I'm mixing him in at center as well. Only projected for 2% on DraftKings.
Yeah, he's kind of fine either way. If Towns even plays, I get that.
Yeah, assuming I have him. I have 4% of him. It's not too much. With Towns in, I imagine that would go up maybe a couple percent if Towns is out. Still not super interested, but just enough to get a piece. And then I don't know. Their GPP plays. No one here is projected for over 10%. None of them project out well, but I don't think Philly has gone to a like we've talked about earlier in the season. Philly's a team we like targeting players against, and so I think this is a good team to just get over the field on.
Mhm.
No one specific though, except for maybe Miles McBride.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So let's go ahead and jump on into the next game then. Toronto versus Atlanta. So we'll start with Atlanta because we do know that Porzingis is out, Trae Young is out, and Luke Kennard's out. So with that, Jalen Johnson to me instantly becomes like a very solid play overall. OF Index really likes him. Anika definitely becomes much more appealing, even on FanDuel, where multiple position eligibility. I think that kind of stands out to me. Where are you at? Are you those two players that you're trying to pay up for, or are you looking elsewhere?
Um, Sorry, cut out for a second. I'm really high on Jalen Johnson again. He hasn't
Okay.
really been doing it. He is pulling. Actually, he isn't pulling as much ownership as I thought he was. I thought it
No.
was a little bit higher. It's still really high, obviously, but I think he's great. Model's telling us he's a strong value on DraftKings. I mean, he's 9,700. I think he's slightly underpriced. There's no Trae Young. I think he's great. Him and a Kongwu, I think, are my top two targets from this team. The 7,200 price for him on DraftKings is pretty nice.
Yeah, that's I think they're kind of starting points, and maybe um I actually feel I'm finding it tough not to play either of them, even though it could end up being like a difficult matchup slightly. Uh, that is just a spot where I think we should be getting to at least one of them, but I really like kind of getting to both of them. And maybe if you need to adjust your build after that, do it. But they've just been going off for so much. You could be combined for like 100 DFS points there, and I would take that when you combine their salaries. I think that's a that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, big fan of both of those guys. And then I'm getting some shares of Dyson Daniels. I have mild interest. The model thinks he's a really good value. Ownership is definitely there over on FanDuel. I think it's a little bit too high. Not a bad play. 16% seems appropriate on DraftKings, but seems a little overowned on FanDuel. I'm still getting there. And I do want to mention Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The model's not really projecting him out as an outstanding value today. His price is like 6,800 for Nickeil
Mhm.
Alexander-Walker. It's kind of insane, projected for double-digit ownership still, but I do think he's worth mixing in. He does have a ceiling.
So not mixing in any of the like 4K ish plays at all. They're kind of getting a little bit of ownership bit at 15%. Reichster at about 12% on FanDuel. Uh, I don't think we need to get to anyone lower than that. Any love for them?
I'm getting about 5% of Ricochet and Vic Krejci over on DraftKings. So yeah, just sprinkles. I don't think either of them stand out. The model, like it tends to identify Ricochet as a strong value projected for
Hmm.
27 minutes, but I have such a hard time getting there.
Well, I will say like the props betting market has seemingly been a little bit higher on him points wise as well lately, and so he's just probably not. That's probably part of it too. It's just he's not getting to where he's being projected, kind of industry wise as well. So I kind of get it. Maybe he finally splashes. I don't hate him at that price tag. He should be in for a good spot. He just hasn't been happening. So we'll take a peek at Toronto here. Lots of decent ownership here. I get it, but I also struggle to get to them at their ownerships. It's a decent game, close game, but you got Barnes, Ingram, and Quickly all at about 20 to 15% ownership. Again, I get it with Joachim Pertl out, kind of benefits them all. Where are you at here with them?
Scotty Barnes is the only player I'm over the field on, and that kind of tracks with what the model's saying. His DK value is over 14. 8,400 price seems really good for him. 16% seems like pretty good ownership. I'm not really sure why he's so low owned. They're probably going to start Sandro at center today, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Okay. So I don't know. When Scotty Barnes started at center last time, he just jumped up to become one of the best plays on the slate. His price is still definitely inappropriate, though. So I think that's a spot we want to get over. And then I think we're just mixing in the rest of the guys. Ingram doesn't really stand out on the model, but he's the guy I'm getting the second most of here. And Quickly's price is pretty good. I think Quickly is usually, I hate using the word safe, but he seems like one of the safer players out there. Like he's
that's
consistently
true.
Around 30, right?
Yeah, that's true. He is safe. I will say RJ Barrett, even at his ownership, I don't know. I get like we only have him projected for like 25 minutes, but that seems too low. I don't know. Maybe that's just it. I'm looking at RJ Barrett and seeing him like much lower owned, and it is because of the minutes. But I guess 16% for Ingram's fine. Quickly, maybe see him a little bit overvalued. I get it, and then you probably talked me into just being even weight on Scotty Barnes there.
Well, with RJ Barrett, we got a notification a couple minutes ago that he's going to be limited to a little more than 24 minutes Saturday. Okay. So I might give him one more minute. Project him for 26. Hope he plays 27. The 6K price is fine. I think he already beat this once in his return in low minutes. So at 4 and 3%, model saying he's fine. If he ends up playing a couple more minutes, 27, 28, that'll be pretty good. So I don't think he's bad to mix in. I have 8% of him right now.
I think that's fair. And then Sandro or Colin Murray-Bowles, anything there? I mean, Murray-Bowles is pretty cheap, I would say, especially when you look at him on DraftKings compared to FanDuel. A little bit appealing as like a punt play. There's not that many like sub 4K plays that I like. I don't hate them, but I don't need to get to them either.
I wasn't really considering either of them, but maybe you talked me into a couple percent.
Yeah. It really just depends on the roster construction there, where again, I like a lot of the guards in this. We can jump into this next game as we got some questions here about it in this Charlotte versus Chicago game. So like Charlotte's going to be without Diaby, Kalkbrenner as well. And then you also have Plumlee still out as well as Grant Williams. So we did just get a question about PJ Hall. Okay. And so are they viable options here?
I thought PJ Hall was on the previous slate. I think he finished with like 2 fantasy points. Played a bunch of him. I think I had a couple percentage of him today, but Saloon, I think, is the guy I'm more interested in. It just seems like his minutes aren't secure, but he's been playing pretty well recently. If you go look at his recent game logs, I think he's been doing pretty well. I was a little surprised he didn't get a little more playing time yesterday. And so he's only projected for 7 and 4. I say only, but that's actually kind of high for a guy like Tajane Salone. Hopefully it comes in at 7 and not closer to like 11, 12. But I'm over the field on him. I think he's fine. And I am going to take shots on PJ Hall again today. I mean, starting center, 17% ownership. That's disgusting. He's much... How do I word this? He's not as good of a play because he's 17% owned. He'd be much better if he was lower.
Yeah, but it is interesting just looking at like the DK value rating. Like to me, I would have thought they'd be much higher than they are right now. Like the model's not saying like they're must plays value wise, which again I find interesting. But overall we just tend to just trust the model there. That's saying that maybe like for him at 17%, PJ Hall specifically, although I think he's going to hit value, maybe we can find other players that will exceed it. Like what's the chances he really goes off to break the slate, PJ Hall? Like I do think he'll probably get to 5X, probably decent chance to get to 6X. But how much more are we expecting out of him,
Well, we haven't projected for 20 minutes. PJ Hall, 19 minutes actually. And I had him for like 26 minutes yesterday or whenever it was. And that was just too much. So he was playing pretty poorly. In general, I think he's a good fantasy producer. If he's playing well, I think he could get a few more minutes. If he's playing poorly like he was yesterday, then yeah, he's not gonna get the opportunity to do anything. So I mean, final word on him, model isn't loving his value at 19 minutes. If he's playing well, he could play more. They don't have another center. I think the
Yep.
17% is a little bit too high.
So that being said, I kind of do like into Miles Bridges, who to me is pretty low owned on both sites, but more specifically DraftKings, especially because like Khan is coming in off of a game going against Milwaukee in his hometown in his previous game. So I don't like really expect Khan to play all too well. Brandon Miller, I don't think we can really trust all too much. And I just kind of like into Miles Bridges, who gets a good matchup, had a good game last game. And I would argue he's a little bit too cheap. Now, the one concern that I have would be, he is shooting a decent amount, but not like getting to 20 plus shot attempts. So at this like price tag, I feel like 40 DFS points, maybe the 47 that we saw against Orlando. I mean, that's pretty rare, but like I think 40 is what we're like hoping for out of him. And so maybe the ceiling isn't as high as I would want, but I feel like he's a pretty strong play at his ownership here.
I don't disagree. Yeah, part of it's got to be he has to pick up some of the rebounding slack. We need a double-double out of Miles Bridges tonight. Getting a few percent. Model's pretty into it. I'm getting more of his teammate Brandon Williams, and it looks like the field is too. Their price isn't too indifferent. Brandon Miller's actually, I don't know what I might have just said Brandon Williams. Brandon Miller is actually more expensive over on FanDuel, but we can pay up a little bit to get to Miles Bridges and be slightly contrarian over on DraftKings. I don't mind that.
Yeah, that's the thing with Brandon Miller. He has a little bit more of a ceiling, but I don't know. Who do you trust more to get to like 40 fantasy points? Is it Bridges or Miller?
I think in my mind, Bridges has the higher ceiling, but he's going to fail more often. And then Brandon Miller is going to give us a usable score more often, but maybe his ceiling isn't quite as high. That might be wrong. I'm not, but that's how I look at it right now.
Yeah. And I kind of look at, I guess I kind of look at it more as like night in and night out. At least when I'm playing Bridges, I can trust that he's going to get to like 40 or 35 fantasy points. Whereas Miller, maybe I've just gotten him wrong more times this year. That could be it. But either way, they're both pretty appealing at their prices. Brandon Miller's obviously a little bit higher owned. And then we do need to talk a little bit about like LaMelo Ball, because he is pretty cheap, but the model doesn't necessarily like him too much, only slightly more than Brandon Miller.
He's projected for 7% ownership. I mean, I currently have 8, so I guess I'm okay just being with the field. I think he actually comes in a little bit higher, though, than that 7%, so I'll probably end up being slightly under the field. He's been bad. I heard his teammates hate him. We only have him projected for 27 minutes. It's really low, but this is the type of player that can get hot and put up a big score in less than max minutes, and so he's not a great play, but he's viable to mix in for sure.
Yeah. And we'll jump on into the other side of this game here as well. So I think the leadoff question is Trey Jones good chalk tonight after last night?
I don't know if he's good chalk, but I'm going for it. I love Trey Jones today. The model loves him. The model loves this whole team, really. But Trey Jones is the player that I'm going to get to the most here.
The thing that I'm struggling with Chicago is like last night I was really in on Kevin Huerter and Ayo as well, both of them. I love the multiple position eligibility for them tonight, but I believe like they both got like 23 maybe minutes or so, like nothing too crazy. Let me just double check. And it was Trey Jones who actually got more. So Ayo, 21 minutes crushed in that. If like he had 30, he would have like dominated last night. And then Kevin as well here. Let's see how many minutes did he end up playing. 24. And like both of them, if we could get them to 30 minutes, I think they would just be easy. I don't want to say lock plays, but like I would not be passing up on them. So with them getting not as many minutes potentially, I do think Trey Jones makes sense. But at the same time, Trey Jones is 36, and then Huerter is half of that, and then Ayo's 9%. Like I don't know. To me, it feels like those should be flipped, even though the minutes again weren't really there for them. Maybe that was the front end of a back-to-back situation. I don't really know. And what's crazy is like Trey Jones struggled in the first half as well. Like you would have thought some minutes would have went elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the minutes thing, because I think we actually have him projected for a few more minutes than some of the industry. Kevin Huerter specifically at 27 minutes. There was one other player on here whose minutes, maybe it was Ayo. I'm not sure though, but minutes are kind of weird. I don't think the bench plays make for great plays. They've kind of shown us that they are not going to run these guys 30 plus off the bench, at least in the last few. And so I've been kind of bearish on really anyone who doesn't start. So my main interest here, Modest, Trey Jones, and Jalen Smith actually is popping on the model, and so he's popping for me
Yeah.
too. He's projected for 41% ownership on DK. This 5,200 is kind of a gross price for him, but he's been starting in power forward and he's been producing. So
Yeah.
I think we're in on him. It's just tougher to get to him on FanDuel with the higher price because he's center only. But at only 13% ownership, I think he's fine to take a few shots on too.
I think Modest and Jalen Smith, to me, they're kind of roster starting points. And then I've kind of just been deciding between which guard I want to get to for the Bulls. And like you said, the backups are a little bit more difficult to get to if obviously if the minutes are wrong. And I will say Vooch is fine. They're kind of all good plays. I want to get to like 3 Bulls players because this is a high scoring game and a very strong game total as well. And I kind of do want to run it back with at least one Hornets player as well.
As for Vooch, we haven't projected for 23% ownership. I was getting more than that in my initial run, so I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't be surprised if he came in slightly higher owned than that, maybe around 30%. I'm going to be under. The model likes him enough, but it doesn't like love him. It's not identifying as the top play, and I don't want to have 4 Chicago Bulls in too many of my lineups. So I think, as of right now, anyway, I'm under on Vooch, and then just mixing up a lot of Trey Jones, Modest, Jalen Smith. And I do want to make sure we point out Isaac Okoro this high on the model. He's a lot higher owned than he was the other day when he won some people 100K. But at 7 and 12% owned, like that's probably the upper limit of where I'd be comfortable getting to a few percent. I'm not quite at that 7 and 12%, but the model is telling us he's a strong value again. He's probably not going to put up the 40 that he put up the other day, but I think he's fine.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good call. And just I'll toss in Patrick Williams there as well. I like the multiple position eligibility for him on both sites. Not going to crush it by any means, but we haven't projected for like 22 minutes. That's enough for him to be able to 5x. Maybe he gets a little bit hot, gets to 6x. More of a, what I always like to call a shoulder strike play. Perfectly fine getting to him, especially, again, we don't have necessarily a lot of great sub 4K plays. Like to me, I don't want to say he's better than PJ Hall, but we haven't projected for more minutes, and I think I'm more comfortable playing Patrick Williams than PJ Hall.
One thing, Nick in our chat just threw out a pretty great note. It's possible that maybe they start AO or Werder. Since Charlotte's a little bit smaller, they could just bring Smith off the bench today. So watch out for that. If Smith is off the bench, he's going to be pretty close to unplayable for me. Remember, Eric mentioned it's Saturday. People don't like the late swap on Saturday. So if Jalen Smith ends up coming off the bench, he's going to be over-owned almost no matter what. Whereas, if Werder started, maybe he's not going to be that under-owned since he's already pulling ownership, but maybe AO could be. I still wouldn't love those guys, but that would be a spot where at least I'd want to get away from Jalen Smith.
Oh, I would love AO if he's starting. Like I would just he's playing well right now, and kind of the per 36 production with Giddey and White off the court. He's actually the one that benefits a little bit more than Trey Jones, although Trey Jones should as well. But he is coming in off of a good night, so it's like if he was that guy, he'd be showing it night in and night out. So kind of interesting. I think that's a great point. I think we just if we're playing Smith, put him in the forward spot, and if we need to adjust, we can go to AO, much more easily.
I like that. Yeah, I like that call. You just talked me into some AO.
If it doesn't work out, I apologize. I do think the risk is worth the reward, especially if he's starting specifically. Like then it should be a good spot. It's just it's a low owned way to get exposure to this high game total.
I like it. I was grimacing just now because Jaime Jaquez left the game and he won't return. It's like half a rebound away from hitting his prop.
Oh, geez.
It's the first half. It'll be
okay,
insured, whatever, but it would have been nice to just hit it.
No, right. You'd rather hit it than have a reduced slip there. I hate that when that happens. It's frustrating. We'll jump into this the Portland versus San Antonio game. So another kind of interesting spot here. We'll start with San Antonio. Vasol's out, and then also Wemby is out as well. And so it's kind of like, do we load up on De'Aaron Fox, who to me is too cheap, probably a safe play. We also have Dylan Harper, who's getting some chalk, kind of a decent play. Castle as well. I would argue he's a little bit too cheap. Keldon Johnson, maybe too cheap. Like there are some interesting plays here for San Antonio. Where are you looking at?
Well, I mentioned earlier, Kelly Olynyk is the guy I'm getting the most of in my overall today. Model is really high on him. Model loves him. His minutes have been there. He's a min price on DraftKings. So he saw 11 minutes 2 games ago and 20 minutes in the previous game. How much do we have him for? 20.
That's something I think I overlooked there. I think that's
Yeah.
a very solid call out because I've been saying this whole video. Yeah, I don't like anyone under 4K, and even if he gets like 15 minutes, I think he'd be viable in this very good matchup here against Portland, where 7.5 point spread. That's fine. 235.5 game total. We like that. So we have him projected for what 19.5 minutes. Yeah, I think you talked me into a decent amount of him there.
I'm like talking myself out of it now. I'm still going to play a ton. The thing is, he's a min price center. And so the difference between projecting him for 19 and a half minutes and say 17 minutes really isn't going to make too much of a difference. The point is he allows us to fit in more studs. And like for Kelly Olynyk, at least his ceiling is going to be similar no matter if his minutes are 2.5 apart, whatever. I think 19 and a half is a little too high to project him for. I know that he just played 20. But I think we got to take a minute or two off of there. With that said, I'm still playing a ton of him. He just makes lineups work over on DraftKings.
Yeah.
I don't know how playable. Let me actually check how much I got over on FanDuel because 3,700 and having the power forward eligibility on FanDuel too is it's really valuable. I didn't get as much over on FanDuel, but as of right now, I'm playing a ton of him over on DraftKings.
I'm trying to look here. So in one game, he had 15 minutes, 20 DFS points, 19 minutes, 24.8. 18, 24. And so really anything over 15, I think is viable for us. And yeah, the power forward eligibility is pretty nice.
My problem is I don't believe the ownership. And so I'm just slightly over this. I'm not going to end up with him as my highest owned player. Smitty definitely just made a really good point. The field wants 19 and a half minutes of Kelly O. Even if he plays the 19 and a half minutes, it's not a guarantee he does it. The problem is he's been priced. And so it's really hard not to just get him in a bunch of your lineups, especially there's a couple higher price guys we're trying to squeeze in there today. And so I don't know. I think you got to just I don't know. What do you want to do? It's a hard one.
I think it's fair. I'm actually curious to see how much I had of him. I am about... See, I ran my lines without even looking, so I have about 55% of him right now. So overweight on the field right now.
Yeah,
so my hand builds, I did not get any of him. My generated line, it's about 55%.
I don't know. I mean, so Luke Cornett, he's showing up with a decent value score too, projected for much less ownership. Obviously, the price is much different too. I got a couple percent of him. I don't know if he's like a pivot, and I don't know that we want to play him both in the same lineup, but I guess I'll just mention that he's there. And then I'm also getting a decent amount of Julian Champagne. He's been playing pretty well recently, hit a ton of threes the other night, 10 and 20% owned. I don't think it's too bad considering how much the model likes his value rating. So I think that's fine.
Yeah, I'll say I'm definitely more intrigued with like Fox and Castle. They're probably priced up a little bit, like to feel like great about them. They're probably priced up a little bit too much. I do feel like they're safe though in this game against Portland. I feel like pretty comfortable that plugging in maybe both of them into a build, probably going to get around 85 DFS points. And I'm kind of okay with that. The issue is, obviously taking up 2 guard spots with them, which I kind of already mentioned. I like some of the other guards maybe a little bit more, but these are also safe as well.
And someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Last time Wemby kind of missed some time. Kelly Olynyk's minutes were more in the 13 to 15 minute range. He did see 18 and 19 a couple of times, but most of those other games were 13, 14 minutes, 15, 12. So
how many did Keldon get last night?
Keldon, I don't know, but he was way chalkier than I expected him to be. And I kind of like him tonight again, too. He played 26, 31 the game before that. So,
I mean, if Olynyk isn't, getting that many minutes, would it be Keldon getting a few more minutes there? Or would it just be like Carter Bryant there?
It's possible they just give him to Keldon. Model hates him, even at 27 minutes. I have a couple percent. I know I just mentioned I was getting to him again today. I guess I'm not. Yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of tough. I think I'd rather just get to, I am just getting to Champagne, Kelly Olynyk, a couple other pieces on the team, Stephon Castle, De'Aaron. And as for De'Aaron Fox, I could not believe he was 47% owned yesterday. I know the price was incorrect, but we had so many good point guards to choose from. His price is more correct today with Wemby out. The ownership seems fine. I'm just under the field on him. I don't think he's a poor play, but I don't know. He hasn't really shown the ceiling we're looking for when he gets up to this 8K price, even with Wemby out.
That's true. It's just, it is a very solid matchup, and it should be a safe play, And I think people are just punting to Harper instead, which I'm okay with. But let's jump into Portland here instead. So we did get a decent amount of questions about Denny Avdia, who is, I would say, a pretty good payout play. And it's like, kind of, do we want to go with him and Jalen Johnson? Denny Avdia, let's see his chalk right now. So yeah, 34% owned. So people are trying to get to him. Interesting position eligibility tonight, point guard, and then small forward, power forward on FanDuel. So kind of interesting there. Is he kind of a starting point for you tonight? Is he one of your favorite pay-up plays?
Yeah, Denny's is definitely one of my favorite pay-up plays. 34 and 22%. I mean, this 9,300 on DraftKings sounds pretty good. I'm getting there on FanDuel too, even at the higher price. But like, I'm not super over the field. Actually, I'm exactly with the field over on DK at this 34%. I mean, he's good. I like him a lot.
Mm-hmm. And then I know you kind of mentioned, or maybe you did or not. I could be putting words into your mouth here. Caleb Love, were you getting to him?
I was, but it doesn't feel great. Model doesn't really project him as really strong value, right? Even at his 4,600 price, he's projected for 24% ownership. He's been doing okay, I think, right?
Let's pull it up.
I'm looking, yeah, he's been performing really strongly, and so he's a player I'm going to have, but I don't want to just jam him in there. He has been like playing really well recently.
Yeah, it's worth calling out, guys. Grant is out still. Drew Holiday's still out. And so basically all the players that have still been out, including Jeremy Grant, are still out. And so that's why someone like Caleb Love, you would expect him to somewhat continue to play well, but nothing too crazy there. Same thing with like Sharp, 13% owned on DraftKings, 28% on FanDuel. Kling Yang, I feel like he's okay. And same thing with like Kamara as well. Like, I don't know, I feel like the rest of the plays after Avdia I'm okay getting to. Maybe just in the ownership and being even weight with the field.
I've been so bearish on Kamara for fantasy purposes. On this show, I've called him the best defensive player in the NBA, and maybe he's not, but for fantasy purposes, he is not good. His minutes are high, and he just doesn't really do enough. And so I don't understand why he pulls this ownership every day. It's because his median projection is good. But the ceiling, I mean, he doesn't hit it often enough for us to want to jam him into our lineups every day. And so I have a few percent. I'm not completely fading, but I don't know. On FanDuel, it makes more sense that the ownership's higher because he gets the extra point for steals and blocks, but I still don't love it. And I do need to mention Donovan Clingan because the model, for some reason, loves this guy. And I get it because the ceiling is there. Sometimes he fails, but 19 and 14% ownership. This is I view him as a GPP center still, but he's one of my favorite guys to get to today. And just because Chris Murray's top of the model, I don't mind Chris Murray. If it wasn't for the model telling me to play Chris Murray, though, I probably wouldn't think twice about him.
Yeah, I agree with that Chris Murray call for sure there. That's interesting with Kling Yang. Do you maybe like the idea of pairing him with Denny Avdia or just like with the other side, maybe with a Spurs player as well? Because I want to look at it again here. I think he just doesn't get there in these games that are blowouts. So kind of if it does stay close, I think that increases his likelihood to get there, whereas Avdia can kind of get there whenever.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I'm not setting any kind of rule to have them apart or have them together or anything. So I think it's fine.
Yeah. All right. So we'll jump on into the last game on the DraftKings slate. Then we'll give you guys a quick DraftKings build, and then we'll finish out the FanDuel slate here as well. So there's not that much here in this Houston versus Dallas game in regards to like injury news. And we'll start with Dallas. They are healthy, I guess. Kyrie's the only one that's out. I'm seeing a pretty interesting projected start lineup, but I'm seeing Nembhard, Christie, Flagg, PJ Washington, and Anthony Davis. No one's really chalk here, and I kind of agree with that. Do you kind of agree with that too?
I agree with it. Yeah, I don't have more than 4% of anyone on Dallas. A couple percent of Max Christie, Cooper Flagg, Brandon Williams, AD, but no one here stands out in any way, shape, or form. So Smitty talked about Brandon Williams. I don't know if it was on stream, but he's been playing really well recently, but it seemed like his minutes were reduced with AD back in the lineup. He was doing really poorly last game, and then in the second half, he went on a burst where he just scored every time, so they had to keep him in the game. But Brandon Williams would usually be a guy I'd be interested in, but I'm slightly bearish. I know he's only projected for 10% ownership. He's fine. I have a few percent, but yeah, that thing about him maybe getting a few more minutes might not be relevant with AD playing.
Yeah, I actually nailed the spot of him, at least in the first half, for him not getting enough minutes, and then he crushed in the second half, running a couple slips for me, which I was fully on tilt with that one. But we'll jump into Houston here. I don't really love anyone here. I know Tari Eason's getting a little bit of love on the DK value rating and also ownership wise, so that probably makes sense. But I don't know. I didn't really get to many people here in this game for either of them because, well, they're both somewhat healthy.
I can't quit Tari Eason, man. Model says he's fine on DraftKings, 14.4 value. I'm over the field on him. Only projected for 22 and 10%. So he's had a weird minutes limit, right? 24, but he's been getting into foul trouble, and I just don't understand how he keeps doing this so often. So he's losing a few minutes, but maybe, hopefully, he can get his full 25-minute run and give us 30 that we're hoping for.
Yeah. So let's try to give a quick lineup here for DraftKings, and then we'll get into the FanDuel stuff. So let me just refresh this real quick and see if anything's updated. But where do you want to start? Who do you want to start with? I feel like there's a few decent payout plays that we could start with.
Well, let me see if my new run is okay.
Yeah.
So I need to redo my stuff because right now I'm still getting Jalen Smith, Trey Jones, and Modis, and Denny Avdia is my highest 4 owned, and then Jalen Johnson, Scotty Barnes, Tari Eason are next.
I think I really like Modis. Actually, I think he's a pretty strong starting point just with where he's priced. And then I think we'd want to get to either Avdia or Jalen Johnson, maybe both.
It looks like a bunch of my lineups have both, but you're right. It might be a stronger lineup if we try to force both in. It might end up being disgusting since we do kind of lack value plays.
Let's try it just to see, because we're going to play Kelly Olynyk since we spent half the video talking about Kelly Olynyk. But let's just try it with Kelly O in there and just see, just because I'm interested, because that is the only other value that we have, and then we have 5.6 left over. So it does get kind of ugly with the roster construction that we can get to. Is there anyone in that range that you like? I mean, DK value wise, Jalen Smith is right there. Trey Jones is right there. Okoro's there.
Caleb Love.
Caleb Love, we could go down to. He's not popping up though, DK value wise.
Okay.
We could though.
He's going to be chalk. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to come in higher owned than he's projected.
Mm-hmm. We can put him in there.
Would Scotty Barnes fit? Maybe a little bit less price than or probably not, huh?
Maybe. Let's see. That doesn't allow us to play Jalen Smith though. So I'm going to take the executive decision and go, since I talked him up a bunch, AO as well. So we have 4.3 left over.
Miles McBride. Do we have a guard spot?
Yeah.
It's model approved too.
And then we could get to Caleb Love, I think, right? Maybe. It's tight. What is it? Oh, 4.6. I mean, not terrible though. I mean, we could find, there's other plays that people can get to. I think that's a decent starting build though.
I think the big thing is
slightly.
Yeah, we're lacking value. If anyone pops up later, again, it's Saturday. People aren't going to swap. They're probably going to come in lower owned than they should. So it's hard to save spots though, because I don't know that we're going to get anything. And the value we have, I don't think we can overlook it because we just don't have any value.
Yeah, 3 games that are starting later too. So kind of interesting there.
I see this comment about Sengun. I did want to mention, I think Sengun is actually a pretty good GPP play today. Center isn't super strong. A lot of people are just going to get to a Kongwu. Kelly Olynyk has power forward eligibility, so maybe he's not super owned. And same with Jalen Smith at the center position anyway. But I think Sengun, for once, actually stands out. It's against Dallas, so maybe people think Dallas is good on defense. They're not. Yeah. But I usually am really bearish on Sengun, but I kind of like it today. I don't know if the model was super into it, though.
Yeah, I don't. To answer his question, I don't know if I like pairing them together. I kind of like them both individually as
I agree.
Kind of lower. Yeah. Okay. And so we'll jump into the FanDuel main. They have the 2 late night games in there, right? Utah, Golden State, and the Boston Clippers.
Mm-hmm. We love them.
So yeah, we'll talk about Utah. I believe Nick had a comment in there about Love, I believe. So are you playing any of Kevin Love tonight?
Kevin Love? I think he was talking about Caleb Love.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. I was going to say he's not projected for many minutes here. That makes more sense.
I am playing Kevin Love though. Yeah.
Are you? All right.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't realize I was getting that much, but again, I mean, we lack value on DraftKings. It makes sense that we would lack value on FanDuel too. Let me just make
Yeah.
sure that the model was like at least okay with him. No.
He's not popping up right now. I've seen other places have like 15 minutes for him. I know our min is typically like 10.
Yeah, I gave him 16 minutes, so I guess I'm a little bit higher than the industry, but might lower that a little bit. Getting a lot of value plays, or a lot of plays in general. Keontae George, Sensabaugh, Filipowski, Lauri
Yeah.
Markkanen, and Kevin Love, all double digits from this Utah team. So
Well, it's such a high scoring game. It makes sense to like try to force in plays here. And they're all coming in kind of lower owned on FanDuel. Like I do like into George. If he's coming in at 2%, sure. Load up on him a little bit. Load up on it. You give me 5% and loading up on him compared to the field there. And Marketing as well. Yusuf Nurk's out. And so I think he's a little bit appealing. I wouldn't say anyone else is really crazy good. Like we're not playing any of Kyle Anderson tonight, right after his monster night.
never say never. No, I'm not. I'm not. But
Yeah.
he did do it last time.
I was kicking myself for that, for not being on him, just with marketing. I was lazy, to be honest, with marketing and George out. I'm like, yeah, that could be a good spot for him. It kind of makes sense. And yeah, that sucked.
Well, last time with Kyle Anderson, I went in there thinking I was going to bump him up because I didn't think the industry was going to project him well. And then I see like the whole industry had him projected really well that I had to, kind of come in lower on him because I thought that was kind of ridiculous. And then obviously he ended up doing it.
Yeah.
I do need to mention Filipowski. I don't even know what the hell happened to him last game, but his projection is so low around the industry. Yeah, Kevin Love is in today, but if he's playing well, like we know Filipowski is a good fantasy producer, I think this is a spot we can get to a little bit.
Yeah, I don't mind being overweight on him. It's kind of I forget who it was we were talking about earlier. Kling Yang. It's kind of like Kling Yang, where it's like you're really not expecting much, but the good stuff is really good with him, and so I don't mind that there. We'll jump into Golden State real quick, and then I know we're kind of up against it here. But Curry's questionable. Butler's questionable as well. Kuminga's questionable. So they're kind of tough to gauge right now with it being the late night game. I don't think it's necessarily worth trying to get to, although a lot of FanDuel ownership for both Jimmy Butler and Curry. So I feel like that's a fading spot. I don't know about you.
Steph Curry is one of my highest owned players on FanDuel. Actually, okay. I ran my stuff before the show. I didn't actually go through the exposures to see. But yeah, I have a lot of Steph. I'm playing a decent amount of Draymond, getting to some Jimmy, and then I am over the.
Is that just with the game? You're chasing the game total? Easy matchup.
I guess I am. Yeah. When I was putting in all my adjustment stuff earlier, I didn't realize that this is what I didn't make that many adjustments. This is just what my stuff spit out. So, yeah, I guess I'm a really big fan of this game. And Keontae George was projected for like no ownership. I'm going to be over 20% on him. I'm going to be way over the field on him today. And I'm going to be way over on Steph too. I guess this is the main reason why I like the FanDuel slate a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this game's appealing, and I like into George much more than Curry, and that's where I got sticker shock with Curry 30% and George is 2%. Like, I would flip that, but it is 11 point spread in favor of Golden State, so you do tend to favor the team that's projected to win. So, kind of get that.
And I'm going to throw out one pivot here. We have Moses Moody projected for 12% ownership on FanDuel. I think Melton's the better play at only 3% ownership. We're saving a few $100s, especially on if you're playing. I don't know what the showdown on DraftKings is tonight, but the night slate, Melton's going to be good over there too. He's been in there. Steve Kerr wants Melton in the rotation. Remember, he missed all of last season with a bad injury. I think that's a spot we can get to on FanDuel that's going to come in very low owned.
Yeah, they're projected about the same minutes, and maybe Melton just plays a little bit better and gets more run too. So I like that. And then we'll do both the teams for Boston and the Clippers. We'll do them both at the same time. Again, we're up against it, guys. Let's just see here. So nothing too crazy here. Both teams are basically the same. Ownership-wise, we are seeing Keita get some love there. He is probably a little bit too cheap. And then from there, Boston, as typical, Brown, Pritchard, White, all solid plays, but also not plays that we necessarily need to get to. James Harden, Kawhi, decent plays. OF Index likes Kawhi the most. I'm surprised at his ownership, but also he's pretty priced up there on FanDuel.
Yeah, I actually am surprised I barely got any Kawhi too. I have him jacked up his projection. He's 10-8 now over on FanDuel,
Yeah.
which isn't great, but that is the spot I would want to get to most here. I'm not getting more than 5% of anyone in this whole game, though. I don't think it's bad to take shots on, though. Like Jaylen Brown, Derek White seem good. Kawhi, obviously good.
Mhm.
Ivica Zubac, I don't know if he was confirmed in, but if he's confirmed in and we
Yeah.
don't hear a minutes limit, he's only 6,300 at 2%. It could be worth some shots.
I didn't see anything suggesting that he's not in.
Okay.
So
Okay, nice.
and just worth calling out, this is a very low game total, lowest game total, I believe, on the slate today. So that's where it's tougher to get to them, like them compared to the Utah game. Much more appealing.
And before we forget, Douche, one of our core Discord members, took down a good contest last night on FanDuel. Dude, shout out to you. You had go check out the Discord. You had a couple low owned guys in there. I think you had Huck Porty at like the 1% owned Knicks starting center. No one in the industry projected him for anything. You found it. So congrats to you, dude.
Yes. A little slow clap there. Any closing thoughts other than that? I mean, obviously that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think the DraftKings slate, it's tough. We're gonna have to figure out what to do with the value plays. Hope we get some value plays later, but I wouldn't save too much like ownership for it, because if we don't, then you're kind of screwed. FanDuel, much better slate today. That Utah game, for me, I'm just gonna be way over on the Utah side too. So hopefully it works out.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, that'll do it for today's live stream. We'll catch you guys tomorrow with both our live streams. We got the NBA live stream and then the NFL live stream as well. That'll do it for tonight's video. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck.